Welcome to this edition of Atlanta Live. I'm Ann White, and we're going to be visiting today with some very special guests who have expressed some extremely courageous faith, one that is going to encourage you and me. Join me in welcoming Phil and Kathleen Cooke of Cooke Pictures. So exciting to meet you. I've learned so much about you over the last few weeks, and I've been looking forward to this interview. And there's so much to cover, but Kathleen, let's start with you.
Sure.
And you know, kind of our topic has been courageous faith.
Oh, I love that topic.
Was there a point in time in your life that you really gained that courage to stand up for your faith and express it openly?
I gain that courage every single day that I step out of bed.
Amen.
I think God sends us on an adventure, and it's an adventure for us every single day. And all we have to do is say yes. Yes,
Amen.
Take me where you want to take me. So yes, I've been on a path. I was raised in Las Vegas, Nevada. My father was recruited to be the first basketball coach in 1949. Bugsy Siegel had just built his first hotel.
Yeah.
He was a courageous man at the time to go there, and so I followed in his footsteps all of my life.
Your dad's footsteps, not Bugsy Siegel's footsteps.
Okay.
Make that clear.
Okay, yeah, good. It's always nice to have somebody to
clarify
kind of,
that a little
yeah,
bit.
to keep us out of the ditch, right?
So my daddy was a very courageous man. My mom was as well, and I was blessed to have been brought up in a very strong faith background. And met my husband Phil in college, and it's been an adventure in our lives all along. And we started our own production company in '91 in Los Angeles. And I've been a theatrical actress in Los Angeles for a number of years, and now I do creative consulting for our company at Cooke Pictures, as well as casting. And we've just started our own philanthropic group called the Influence Lab about 2 years ago.
Right.
And so that's been a really courageous thing for us to do, because we've been in production all our lives and helping various organizations and nonprofits with their media productions and their work.
Right.
This was ours, and somehow or another, when you start your own thing, it's scary.
Well,
it's scary to do your own thing, isn't it?
It is, but it's so important for you guys as influencers, because you are. You have been influencing people for many, many years, but to make that significant step and say, we care about the next generation in media coming behind us. But I want to take a step back for a minute, because you guys have been married a number of years. Hollywood alone makes it difficult to maintain a marriage. Media, publicity.
Hollywood marriages rarely get through the reception.
There you go.
So I know what you're talking about.
There you go. So I really want our audience to hear what has held y'all together. And I want let's hear from Phil first and let him talk to that, because it's courageous to stay in a marriage, and it takes a lot of faith. It takes a lot of God.
Yeah.
But tell me.
Well, both of our parents were married for a very, very long time. And so I think growing up in that environment, I think that makes a huge difference, because for us, it's just never been an option not to be married. And but we didn't start out well. When I first called her in college to ask her on a date, the very first call, the only reason she said yes is because she thought I was somebody else.
Oh no!
So,
this sounds like a good story.
Yeah, and so we didn't start well. There's nothing like picking up your date at the dorm and seeing the expression of, oh, it's him.
Oh no!
So that's kind of the way we started. So it didn't start out well, but yeah, it picked up steam. And I think just the idea that divorce is just not really an option. We're going to work this thing through and figure it out and see what happens is so important. And I think our parents modeled it, and hopefully we're modeling that for our kids. And I think that makes a huge difference.
And I think it really starts out, too, with our own personal relationship with Jesus and with God.
Right.
And the fact that we're dedicated to Him, that we're focused on Him, and that's where it all begins. We start at an early age, growing up, being committed to our faith and who God is in our lives. And God teaches us how to be committed, so that when we are in a human relationship with each other, that those lessons can be continued on.
That's so true.
So I think that's a huge part of it. You know, it's really interesting. Several years ago, I had a top producer in Los Angeles interviewing me for a top agency position, and he brought me in, didn't know a whole lot about me, and the usual questions, you know, who are you and how long have you been married? And I said, at that point, I've been married 22 years. And he just stopped. And he said, all of my life, I've wanted to stay married, and I've never been able to do that. I'm on my second wife marriage right now, I'm the second wife. And he said, it's what I want more than anything else.
Wow.
And the interview ended, and the testimony of my faith began at that point. And it's amazing how God in Hollywood leads you into those positions if you allow him to, and if you're brave and you have courage to go there.
Right. Right.
To open your mouth.
What a
into
God
faith.
moment.
Yeah.
I mean, God does give us those moments where
Yeah.
we can really, if we are listening, if we're paying attention, and we're not focused, and so often we're not listening.
No.
Now,
no.
Phil, you've been an influencer for many years. You've written books on your
Mm-hmm.
website. You've got all sorts of blog articles. I see how you engage with your readers. Tell me about that. What has God impressed upon your heart? And Kathleen's the same way. We're going to get to
Yeah.
her too, because about speaking into the next generation.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. We focus on media. My dad was a pastor in North Carolina years ago, most of my life. And I realized early on that I could produce one television program that would reach more people than he reached in his entire lifetime.
Wow.
So I always, from earliest days, I have a PhD in theology because I'm a little crazy and I just love that stuff. But
I can relate.
Paula Zahn at CNN said, wait a minute, you're the only working producer in Hollywood with a PhD in theology. So it puts me in a little different area.
Which is a good thing.
It's a good thing, at least I hope.
Yes, it absolutely is.
But I've always been fascinated with it. But I've always felt like Christians, we don't tell our story very well. I think it's a big reason we're being marginalized in the culture. I think it's a big reason we're losing our voice. It's a big reason why in the last 20 or 30 years we've not moved the dial one bit in this culture. And I think largely it's because we have the best of intentions, but we don't know how to speak the language of today's culture. And largely, this is a media-driven culture. And if you look at the life of Jesus, he spent his life where the people were. In those days, it was the temple square, the marketplace, social gatherings like weddings.
Right.
Well, guess what? Today, the people are on social media. They're
Yep.
watching television. They're downloading stuff from Netflix. And if we don't have a presence there, we will lose this generation. So I've always felt passionately that we need to speak the language of the culture, and we need to do it in a way they understand and get it. And that's what's really driven us in everything we've done.
Okay, so tell us how Cooke Pictures goes about making that transition, or helping the next generation, or helping the
Yeah.
people out there reach that generation.
We do a lot of stuff, and we've been involved over the years with everything from Super Bowl commercials to TV specials to movies and a number of different projects. But in many cases, we work with a lot of clients. The Salvation Army is a client of ours. The YouVersion Bible app is a client. The new Museum of the Bible that's going into Washington, D.C.
Right.
is a client of ours.
Right.
And we've worked with a lot of the biggest churches and ministries around the country, helping them tell their story more effectively. But we also work on a number of our projects. We're getting ready to release a feature film on Hillsong United, the world's most
Right.
popular worship band.
Right.
And that'll probably be released in the fall in about 3,000 theaters. So that's been an interesting project, and that's a good example of trying to reach a younger generation. We wanted to create a film, a Christian-driven project, that you would not be embarrassed to take an unbelieving friend to. And I think that's the key. Even a non-believer, I want them to look at the stuff we do and think, maybe I don't buy into the way they think, but that's a pretty awesome project.
Right.
And if we can do that, I think it's the first step in opening the door to start those conversations.
Right, introducing
So
it.
we're intimately tied with Hollywood studios and networks because we really want to make that bridge happen between the secular world and the Christian world, because I think it's an important thing.
Okay, and Kathleen, you're very focused and have founded a group that is with Christian women influencers,
Yes,
right?
yes.
So tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. Well, as I mentioned earlier, we have started our own nonprofit called the Influence Lab, and the initiative, or the part of that I work in, is the Women's Initiative,
Okay.
which is Influence Women. So I have a monthly newsletter I put out at influencelab.com/women.
Okay,
and they can
perfect.
sign up for that. And I have about 1,200 women that follow me now through that newsletter, specifically within Hollywood, New York, and some of the more media-driven locations around the country and the world. And it's designed to connect and network and to inspire women who are at top levels of their professional careers in media, and specifically within secular media. So we have some initiatives that we're doing. One that I'm working on right now is with the Middle Eastern Women's Leadership Network.
And I did see that because
Yes.
I go over to India and I work with some missionaries over
Yes.
there, and I work with some of the young leaders over there. And our goal has really been to raise up the women in leadership over
Yes.
there to
Fantastic.
reach their people.
Yes,
Yeah,
and
so
that's
it
a challenge.
sounded
We've been
a
to
lot
India
like
4
what
or
you've been
5
doing.
times working with various groups over there, so I know India's intense.
Mm-hmm.
But the Middle Eastern thing is unique, I think, because
It is.
if you know a lot about the culture over there, women can only speak with women, men
Mm-hmm.
cannot speak with them. Many of them are sequestered in homes and in
Correct.
compounds. They're not allowed to drive. If they're allowed to be on the internet, it's very for limited purposes. And so many of them are in homes where they all have cell phones, and many of them are watching television all day long. And so we're able, as a woman, to be able to reach a woman, and that's really about the only way we can do it. So we are specifically training women who are in leadership positions already, working with these women in there, to teach them how to do media more effectively.
Wow.
How do you create social media campaigns that are going to connect? How do you work with them on social issues that affect them, cultural issues, and get the message of the redemptive story of Jesus to them.
Amen.
And I believe that when we lead them to who Jesus is, Jesus will allow and will come into their lives and lead them to Him personally.
And you're
it's
not
exciting.
spoon feeding them. You're empowering them
Yes.
and equipping them with the tools they need
True.
to achieve and to lead and to grow
Exactly.
faith in Christ.
Yeah.
Right
And
there
that's what
in
we
their
should be
communities.
doing. You know, the cultures all over the world, from India, where you've been doing work, or where we've been. We just got back from South Korea a couple weeks ago working there. We were in 3 continents, 6 countries, and 12 cities in 3 months last year, May, June, and July, working. And so each culture has their own unique aspect to them, and so we have to be very respectful of them and teach them how to do it within their own country and in their
Right.
own culture.
Right.
We can't go over there and put our American viewpoints on things and our
We
American
can't.
culture there.
And
Can't.
that's a hard transition, and really it takes a lot to
It
learn
is.
that, because you can't. You really have to step into their world. And I think the first time I
So
went to
true.
India, I experienced that. And you guys have obviously got some great programs going
We've got
there.
more requests on our desk than we know how to answer from
Wow.
countries all over the world wanting to learn how to use media effectively to reach their own community. So we're setting up training centers around the world to do that, and it's an interesting challenge. But I think in many ways, it's interesting that in other countries there's not the church state separation we have
Right,
here.
right.
So if you produce a good program, if it's about God, it doesn't matter. If it's a good program, they'll air it on prime time.
Wow.
So we've had stuff broadcast in Russia, South Africa, India, a lot of other countries. And it presents a really interesting challenge, and it allows us to get some remarkable stuff on primetime television and reach
Right.
millions of people.
Wow.
I'll tell you a great
Fascinating.
story. Several years ago, we were speaking and teaching in Moscow, and Phil had produced a couple early on when the internet had just come on, he produced a couple really quickie little things like how to produce a Christian television show.
Okay.
And so we show up at this conference. This guy walks up, back then, VHS tapes, hands it to Phil and said, I've downloaded the information off the internet that you posted, and I've put together a Christian talk show in St. Petersburg. Would you watch this and tell me if it's any good? So we were kind of looking at it going, okay, I wonder what this is going to be
Yeah.
like. We put it in, and it's really quite well done for the resources and who he has.
Right.
Phil turns to him and says, you know, these are all state-owned networks and channels. Where are you showing this? And he said, well, that's kind of interesting. He said, I haven't been able to find a place to put it, but I was able to find the porno channel. And so once a week we have a Christian television talk show of various people come in on the porno channel in St. Petersburg that we're producing this
Good
show
for
for.
them.
And
I mean,
what a better
what
place
better-
to
People
put it.
would be
Exactly,
ridiculed in
they
America
know.
for that, but hey, that's probably
Right.
where it should be.
You know,
That's pretty funny.
exactly right. Exactly right. When I was in India, and it just makes me think of that, we went
Yeah.
into the red light district, and one pastor in India that we've encouraged and supported has a ministry, a prayer room in the brothel. One of the madams allowed him, and we went in and prayed over these girls, loved
Yeah.
them, told them, you know, God loves you right where you are.
Yes.
And that's the message that they need
Yeah,
to hear.
so
So
true.
you're right. Probably
And
right.
media
It's in the place where God wants it to
Media
be.
gets to places we can't possibly go.
Exactly.
So you never know where somebody's going to watch it on TV or see it on social media or watch it on their phone. So it can be a very, very powerful tool.
Right. Okay, so if you're encouraging
Sure.
someone who is thinking about getting into media or is
Yeah.
nervous about, you know, a door that God's opened, because I'll be honest with you, God opened this door to media for me about 2 years ago.
How long did you fight it?
You know what? you just have to understand that I had gone through an amazing crisis in my life with God, with my marriage, and God had such healing power, brought my marriage back together. We're whole again. I've just finished a book. It releases in a couple weeks, 7 Steps to Courage. But I was at a place where I had just raised my hands and said, you know what, God, I knew I was no longer in control. And so if you open a door, I'm going to walk through it. Well, be careful what you say, right?
Right.
Because he opened a door that I didn't think he'd open. But it's all great. And so that fear of that goes away. But talk to us about how important that media is, because obviously that's your, it's your heartbeat.
I tell a lot of people that Facebook, now that Facebook has 1.5 billion users, by population, it's the largest country on the planet. So I particularly tell pastors and ministry leaders, who's planting churches in that country? Who's sending missionaries to that country?
Yeah.
And I think if we could get past the idea of using social media to show pictures of our lunch or to let people know we're at Starbucks, I think when you consider that you're following are people that are following you are interested in what you have to say.
Right.
So you have a responsibility to them, and I think I've got about, 32,000 people that follow me on Twitter, for instance, and so I take that seriously. In a wacky way, I'm the pastor of one of the largest churches in America, so I want to encourage them, I want to inspire them, we have fun, but at the same time, I really want to inspire those guys. And I think anybody, a housewife today, in fact, I'm doing a crisis PR workshop this week, and I'm telling people that a housewife in Tupelo can bring down a major corporation today because of the power of social media.
Right.
Well, if you look at it another way, that housewife in Tupelo can have a powerful global ministry through social media. So if we took it seriously, I think pastors, ministry leaders, and church members could use social media in a very powerful way. There's no expense. We just need to take it seriously and actually help inspire people, feed them, help them grow, and it can have a huge impact.
And you're obviously doing that. So while we're at that point, why don't you share your social media accounts with everybody so they know how to find you and follow you?
Well, I'm Phil Cooke with an E, so I'm Phil Cooke, at Phil Cooke on Twitter, at Phil Cooke on Instagram. That's where I have most of the fun these days. And I have a page, obviously, on Facebook as well. So, and she's at Kathy Cooke.
At Kathy Cooke, Twitter, and then Kathleen Paye Cooke, Facebook, and Kathleen R. Cooke on Instagram.
Just Google search us and it'll come up.
Right, because they can go to your website. They can either go to cookepictures.com. Is it?
Yes, or Phil Cooke, my blog, and KathleenCooke.com. We have both have blogs there, and all our social media stuff is on there.
That is excellent. Okay, so family life. How is family life in Hollywood? Let's talk about that for a quick minute.
We raised 2 daughters there. They're both grown. We have a granddaughter who's almost 2 now.
Oh, congratulations. That's
thank
awesome.
you. It's fun.
There's nothing like grandchildren. I can stop and say that I have 2.
It really is awesome.
It is nothing like them.
I love giving them back at the end of the day. That's an awesome thing.
Exactly.
Awesome thing. And but no, we raised 2 daughters in L.A. She's a great mom, did a brilliant job, and I was, traipsing all over the world filming stuff most of our career. And so she did a great job raising the girls, but we have a great relationship. One's in LA, one's in New York. They're both in the entertainment industry, which means I'll be poor for a very long time.
It's okay. It's an investment.
Yeah. Well, we would have liked a son, but the risk of 3 daughters was too great, so we stopped.
Okay, yeah.
But now
2 boys, so I understand that.
Now that they've grown, I wish we'd have had more. They turned out better than we could have possibly thought.
Okay, your grandchild is a granddaughter or
a
grandson?
daughter too.
I'm
awash in hormones.
Okay. Well, I got the little girl with the granddaughter. Our first grandchild was a granddaughter, so that was our first little girl.
Cool.
It was very, very cool.
We're really proud of our kids, though. They're very successful, and so.
I know you are, and you've definitely invested in that next generation of inspiring some courageous faith and so forth. And I'm really excited about your Influence Lab and learning more about that.
Well, that's part of what I'm doing through the Influence Lab as well, is bringing younger women who are just starting their careers in Hollywood alongside some of the ones that have been there. So they can mentor some of these talented, successful, or skilled women that are coming up through the ranks. And that's what I think God's called us to do too, as well, is to not just work with an older woman who's already established in their career and doing things, but to also help that younger generation. So I work quite a bit with younger girls who call me mom in Hollywood.
That's great. I mean, it's really great, and it's really what all of us should do. I mean, I encourage our audience, our listeners, those that are joining us to
Yeah.
do that. If you're in a position where you've been through some of the
Absolutely.
ropes, God calls us to share our stories, to share the things we learn when we've tripped up, we've made mistakes, and things that we've
Also,
gotten right.
I encourage people that, you know, there's an old tradition of being a patron of the arts. And the truth is, anybody could be a patron, which simply means find a talented young filmmaker, a talented young musician, a talented young writer or an artist in your church or your community, and help them, support them a little bit, help pay for their tuition, help get them a job, or help
Yeah.
support them so they can really pursue what God's called them to do. I think anybody,
Great
a
message.
housewife, a mom, a dad, anybody could be a patron today.
You're right.
And it really goes even beyond mentoring to help them financially to really pursue the dream that God's given them. And I think that's an incredible place to be.
Absolutely. Very well
Yes.
said. Now let's talk just a little bit about
Sure.
your most recent book
Yes.
that you have out.
One Big Thing, Discovering What You Were Born to Do.
I love it. I love the title. And really, do we ever really discover what we were born to do? Or
Well,
does it change as we go along? But
It
talk to
was
that.
funny. I worked so many years with nonprofit organizations, churches, ministries, and I discovered over those years that the ones that really broke through, that got noticed, that did remarkable work, that generated enormous support, are the ones who aren't, you know, average at a lot of things, but the ones who are extraordinary at one thing. And after so many years, I started saying, wait a minute, that applies to us. And I started looking at people, realizing that most people would admit they're pretty good at a lot of things, but very few of us could say we're extraordinary at one thing.
Right.
And in this incredibly distracted world that we live in, this hyper-competitive world, it's the people who are extraordinary at one thing that really stand out and break through. And so when I wrote the book, One Big Thing, it's really, it's not mystical, it's not weird, it's not, you know, it's just a very simple formula for helping you figure out what are those things that I was really wired to do, that God put me on the earth to accomplish. And when you figure it out, I mean, the light goes on. It's remarkable for people. I've had some amazing stories of people who have read the book, come back, and it's completely changed their life. And I think that's just the direction I think people should pursue. And people get so passionate about different things, and I encourage people to figure out what you're really wired to do. What's that one thing that you're extraordinary at? And believe me, you'll get passionate once you figure that out.
That's such an important message because we do jump around so much, and I have a
Yes.
tendency to do that. And
Me too.
If I didn't have a ministry partner
Yeah.
who said, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, okay, calm down," because
Yeah.
I'm like, "Oh, we could do this," but
But you know what's funny is once you figure out that one big thing, you can express it in a number of ways. So once you, for instance, with me, I really feel called to help Christians in particular engage the culture today.
Right.
So I can do that through writing books. I can do it through creating TV programs or movies or social media. I can do it through speaking at conferences and events. So rather than restricting you, discovering that one big thing really opens you up to some remarkable possibilities, as you're doing now.
Right,
You know,
right.
you're exploring a lot of different media channels and speaking and teaching and writing books.
But there's
And
one
once you-
mission.
One mission,
Yeah.
exactly.
You're
One mission,
right.
one message.
One of the keys that I love in his book that is very unique is the fact that he doesn't tell people to go after what they're passionate about, but it may be something that something that you hate. That God's created you to fix the thing that you hate.
Right.
T.D. Jakes calls it your mission is your misery, because
Okay.
The thing that makes us crazy because we hate it so much is actually something that drives us to be able to fix it. So when I work with young filmmakers, I will say to them, if you're a writer, maybe you hate the way romantic novels are being written. So maybe the thing that you hate, that the way the storyline is for a romantic novel, will lead you to go and fix that. The very thing that God's called you to do may be this thing that you actually hate to do.
Yeah.
Or that you're
Mother Teresa probably didn't love spending time in the gutter with lepers in India.
Yeah.
But the work that she did changed the world.
Right.
She won a Nobel Prize. She created a huge global ministry.
Right.
She's recognized everywhere. And so I find that very often the thing that we hate the most, maybe the thing that we're most sensitive to, is the reason God put us on the earth. So, and it doesn't have to be global hunger or big picture. It could be the thing you hate about your iPhone. Maybe you're
Yeah.
called to fix it,
Yeah.
redesign something else. And so one of the things, and I talk about different ways of finding your thing, but often I find that your ministry could be your misery. So you know.
Well, thank you so much for being
been
here
great.
with us
Thank
today.
you.
It's been
We're
fantastic, you
honored.
guys. I love to watch you guys and see where you're going to go next, because you just don't know what God's got in store, but I know it's going to be
Yes.
great.
Well, thanks for
fun.
having us on. We've so enjoyed it.
Thank you. And you're going to want to pick up that book, One Big Thing, and you're going to want to follow their blogs and read these articles. These are movers and shakers that are going to keep us where we need to be. So be sure to go to philcooke.com and kathleencooke.com as well. And you can also go to cookepictures.com. Thanks again so
Thank
much for
you.
being with us today, and thank you for being with us, and join us again for another edition of Atlanta Live. Hi, I'm Ann White, and I'd like to invite you to read my new book, 7 Steps to Courage, available at 7stepstocourage.com. I believe it will empower you to make courageous choices. We all need courage, no matter what we're going through. Courage to face something difficult, to face a diagnosis of a disease that we've just been told we have, or to deal with a troubled relationship and have the courage to heal that relationship and to confront the issues that we've been dealing with. My greatest desire is that my courage will inspire you to have courage to face whatever difficult circumstance or trial that you're going through. I really hope you'll go out and purchase this book and be encouraged and inspired to gain the courage you need to make courageous choices.